Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews and connections in mind, and welcome to my review and a reaction series to each and every episode of Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. Now, if you've never seen any of my other reaction and review series before, this is just my short form series where I give my my first impressions of each episode as soon as they come out or as soon as I watch them, usually it's the same day. I give some thoughts as to what I thought worked about the episode, what I thought didn't work about the episode, my personal likes and dislikes, as well as some analysis as certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, just to get this out of the way, this will be a full spoiler review and a reaction video, so if you've not seen the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, I highly recommend stopping this video and coming back later when you have, because this will be full-on spoilers from here on out. So with that being said, without further ado, let's get into Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 1, entitled That Hope Is You, in which we pick up pretty much right where Season 2 left off, where in order to keep some critical data out of the hands of the Section 31 artificial intelligence that, if left unchecked and if he got that data, would eventually wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy, Burnham and the Discovery have flung themselves 900 years into the future with that data so that they can keep this, they can preserve the future and the time flow as it goes, and also a way to excise themselves from the 23rd century the 23rd century canon, so that they don't affect what happens in the Star Trek the original series. But the point is, Burnham and the Discovery have flung themselves into the future. Burnham flies out of this temporal wormhole, accidentally hits another ship on her way to crash land on a planet. But she survives. She has the data. She's able to close the wormhole and destroy the critical data. Her mission is a success. The future is full of sentient life. Control has been defeated. However, she now finds herself stranded on an unknown planet, separated from her crew and her ship, and she's a little bit banged up. So she has to. She sees smoke in the distance. The ship that she crashed into on her way to crash into the planet, and she goes there looking for help, but instead she gets attacked by the ship's occupant, a man named Book, who is a courier for some mercenaries, a coalition of Andorians and Orions, an unusual combination. And when Burnham and Book are on their way to the trading outpost on this planet, Book fills Burnham in on the some details of the past 900 years. Most significantly, the fact that about 150 years prior to Burnham landing there, there was an event known as the Burn, in which the vast majority of dilithium in the galaxy exploded. And they don't know why, but the point is, lots of people died on this, lots of ships were destroyed, and the Federation was unable to maintain peace and prosperity in the galaxy, and essentially ceased to exist. He says that there's some true believers out there in the galaxy, but for all intents and purposes, the Federation is no more. Burnham has to goes to the trading post in order to find a subspace comm relay so that she can try to contact Discovery. Book has to get some dilithium, whatever remains, in order to get his cargo, which is time sensitive, safely to its destination. He ends up double-crossing Burnham and putting her in a situation in which she has to confess to the head mercenaries of this trading post that Book actually stole the cargo that was in fact stolen by another guy. But because of this, both Burnham and Book find themselves at the end of the gun barrel of these mercenaries, so they must team up in order to save their lives, and they manage to give these guys the slip. However, once they team up, Burnham gets access to a comm relay and finds that Discovery is not answering. They team up and go to a derelict Starfleet comm relay or sensor relay that's been tended to by one person for decades now, because there's no other Federation presence in the area, and they find out that Discovery is nowhere in sensor range, and because of how the time wormhole works, Discovery could pop out of the wormhole within a day or 1,000 years from now. They don't know. So, but Burnham is able to meet this man who was living as someone who has hope that the Federation will be able to be restored and bring peace to the galaxy once again. And Burnham then makes it her mission, with Book's help, to both find Discovery and to help restore the Federation, because there's no going back to their own timeline. Now, what I thought worked about this episode is, and I think this happens in a bunch of series, where you start out the first couple seasons with trying to get to know the characters, establish them, establish their personality traits, their interactions, get some history behind them, and then you basically just blow up the premise and send them to a completely different setting, and then they get to interact with one another. And I think that works great in many shows. It can work badly if done improperly, but I think there are shows that have done it well. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a great example, where within the first season, Captain America: The Winter Soldier basically blows up their premise, and but then the subsequent seasons only got stronger from there, I felt, and then it was only to the character's benefit at that point. And I think this, given this first episode, I think that's going to be a good measure of what's to come on that front. I like the chemistry that we have between Burnham and Book. I think it's obviously going to be that they're going to be an item in this season, and it may end tragically. Who knows? There's always that possibility. But I think for right now they've got some good chemistry going on, and Book's showing himself to be. He's got some interesting prayer powers going on with there. I'm not quite sure how that works. It'll be interesting to see them explore that going forward. Also, I like just the fact that this is a new environment, and the fact that the setting, given the direction that this looks like the season's going to go, it's very reminiscent of another show, which I'll get into my when I get around to my analysis of similarities. But that's a reason why I think I have good feelings about the show, and I think that's what I think will work about it. What I thought didn't work, if anything, was it's more of a nitpick than anything. But I thought that just the color palette of this episode. Maybe just because that's the planet that they were on, that they happen to be on the planet, it'll be something else later. But the fact is, most of Discovery's, especially in season 2, the settings were a lot more colorful, I thought, or at least bright and vibrant colors. And this episode, at the very least, the color palette between the landscape and the trading post was a lot of blacks and dark grays, browns, red, and I mean, it was just unappealing to look at personally, and maybe that was just maybe that was meant to convey that it's harsh on this planet, and then when they got to the comm relay, it was more neutral and muted and tones. But I mean, I would like to see a little more vibrant and bright, nice colors, blues, greens, that sort of thing. That's just a personal point of me, but I thought if there's a downside, then the setting and the color palette was not on this side of this episode, personally. Some things I liked about it, the fact the one line that got a really big laugh out of me was when Burnham gets shot up with the truth gas or whatever, and she starts kicking in, she's babbling, and at a certain point, the one line that got me laughing was just It's like, oh my gosh, this makes give Truth so much. I know I have a friend with red hair. Do not give her any of this stuff. I was like, yes, do not give any of this stuff to Tilly, because it's like, if we've seen anything about Tilly, she's already an oversure without drugs, and with this, it'd be hilarious to watch and a nightmare to be in the same room with her at that point. So that was gold in my opinion. Also, I got a soft spot for cats, and Grudge the cat is just adorable. I mean, what more can you say? Maybe later in the season they'll pull a Marvel, Captain Marvel, and the cat will be a Flurkin or something. Who knows? But for right now, the cat's just adorable, and I love it. So there's that. Some things that I noticed in this episode that seemed familiar to me. More of just a plot, like a regular plot point that made me think of this. When the space worm or whatever eats the other guys and then eats Burnham, but then Book has to give him the prayer talk or whatever so that the worm could spit Burnham out, and she's covered in the saliva, the juice or whatever. This made me think of Men in Black when Kay's inside the roach and the roach explodes, and then he's just sitting there covered in roach guts. And that was, I mean, other films with giant beasts have done that sort of thing before, but that was just the one example that came to my mind. What I think is the biggest point of comparison between this episode and potentially the rest of the season, given what I saw in the season preview at the end of this episode, is that this is looking very similar to another Gene Roddenberry property, namely Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, which was a series that came out in the early 2000s, using some concepts that Gene Roddenberry worked on prior to his death, and his widow, Majel Barrett Roddenberry, actually produced it, and it focused on Captain Dylan Hunt of the starship Andromeda, who was caught in a temporal anomaly, and when he's brought back into normal time, he finds out it's 500 years in the future, and in that time, the Commonwealth, the greatest civilization in history, while peace and prosperity, had been in a big war, and in the aftermath, the Commonwealth had ceased to exist, and the galaxy has devolved into lawlessness, essentially, and Dylan Hunt takes it upon himself to use his one ship and to restore the Commonwealth as best he can and restore order to the galaxy with the help of a mercenary crew from that time that he recruits as his extra crew. This is very similar to how this season seems to be shaping up, where the Federation is basically no longer existent. The galaxy is pretty much a savage place as far as we can tell, and Burnham enlists the mercenary Book to help her, and once she meets up with Discovery, they're going to work on restoring the Federation to its former glory. And if they go that direction, which looks like they are, great. I loved Andromeda. I think that's a very underrated Gene Roddenberry property. If you've never seen Andromeda before, I highly recommend it. Personally, I think the first 3 seasons of Andromeda are great. The last 2 are more so-so, but yeah, I think it's that sort of thing, and if that's the direction it's going, great vibes with that going forward. So overall, I think this episode did a great job of setting up or giving a tease to the setting without giving out the full scope of the setting, and giving some good new character dynamic between Burnham and Book. And it pretty well sets the stakes for this episode, this season early on. Find Discovery, restore the Federation. I mean, can't get much simpler than that as far as a setup, and I think you did a great job of that, and I look forward to what else is going to happen in this season. So those are my main thoughts on this episode. What did you think of this episode? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I miss something? I probably missed something. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. And if you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially a subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Be sure to tune in next week where I review next week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'll be doing some other random movie reviews for the rest of the year. It would be nicer if actual new movie releases were happening, but given the way the movie theater business is going and given the current status of the COVID pandemic, that doesn't look like it's likely. So, but here's hoping that maybe optimistically, perhaps December 25th, we might get get to see Wonder Woman 1984, but unlikely, in my personal opinion. But anyways, if you like again, tune back in next week. Thank you so much for watching. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.